Battle of Calpulalpan. The Battle of Calpulalpan took place on December 22, 1860 during the War of Reform in the vicinity of the community of San Miguel de la Victoria in the municipality of Jilotepec de Abasolo in the state of Mexico, Mexico. It would be the last battle of the War of Reform 1858-1860. Contenders. In the first stage of the conflict, the balance seemed to tilt in favor of the conservatives, who had the support of most of the formal army, but gradually the trend was reversing, until in Calpulalpan, the Conservative Party, his last card played with his best general Michel Muraman, commanding 8,000 soldiers, 30 guns, and some of the most experienced officers as Leonardo Marquez, Francisco A. Vélez, Miguel Negrete, and Marcelino Cobos. Liberal army troops, commanded by General Jesus González Ortega, who was the General Ignacio Zaragoza, Leandro Val, Nicolas Regules, and Francisco Alatorre, with a force of 11,000 men and 14 pieces of artillery under his command. His army was formed by the Republican guerrillas who had risen against the coup 3 years ago, and, despite not having mostly military education, were hardened soldiers in the battlefields. Background. After the conquest of Guadalajara on 3 November 1860, the Liberals seized the military initiative. They began to gain territories heading toward the Mexican capital. To stop the advance of their enemies, General Muraman left Mexico City, being constantly harassed by the liberal guerrillas operating around the city, while General González Ortega advanced to meet him with 20,000 men. Both armies met in Calpulalpan on December 21, and after failing the negotiations were prepared for the decisive battle that would determine the war. Battle. The next day, despite their numerical inferiority, 8-0, Muraman began an attack on the liberal left wing, taking advantage of the superiority of their artillery, being counterattacked 2 hours later by the superior forces of Zaragoza on their own right flank and by Regules in the middle. At the same time, General González Ortega, Leandro Val, and Alatorre advanced to wrap conservatives in the rear, in a move that decided the action of arms and the liberal victory. The conservative army was completely destroyed. González Ortega headed the end of the battle, pursuing the decimated conservatives, resulting in a total defeat for the conservative army. Muraman escaped and returned to Mexico City in search of support, where he managed to gather 1,500 men, but they soon defected. Knowing that the war was a lost cause, he left the capital and fled toward Veracruz days later to Havana, Cuba, from where he left for France. He would not return until during the French intervention. Consequences. The victory of this battle marked the end of the War of Reform, and conservative caused the disintegration of the army. On 25 December at Christmas 1860, on January 5, President Benito Juárez entered the capital from Veracruz, marking the official end of hostilities. However, although they were defeated, the Marquez and Tomás Mejía Cobos general continued to resist in some conservative foci. Thus, the secular and republican state said in Mexican history, by subjecting the powerful corporations that influenced decisively in the direction of the country, the church and the army. References